in the keys, the fingertips that reach out to touch them, the string that begs to be bent? Or is it in the notes on a page, a foot to a pedal, the infinite space between imagination and skill? Or is it simply music?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 13th Note podcast, Art of Mastery. I am your host, Jeff Spike Wong, and today we're talking about refinement, mastery on something that's very personal to me, to my heart, which is music and being a musician, professional musician. And what we have today is the legendary Gary Shea, bass player from New England and Alcatrazz. And this is a guy that has been through it all. I've read the book. Let me show the book real quick.
Oh, cool.
Beautiful book. Gary, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thanks. How you doing?
Great. Thank you for having you on here. I mean, I'm so glad that you're coming on to our show. I have one of my most biggest memories as a musician was with your band. Can you believe that? Yeah, yeah. And I'll tell that story in a minute. But usually what we like to do is kind of talk to the audience and tell the audience of who you are and basically have you kind of talk about your K through 12, like, you know, your younger years and so forth. I know you were raised in a family that had a lot of music, correct?
Yeah, my grandfather played piano. All his brothers had combos all through their lifetimes until they were like in their 50s and 60s. They were all sax and clarinet players. My grandfather was a piano player.
Wow. So a lot of music in the house you got to be exposed to. So did you feel immediately at that point, hey, this is great, I want to find my niche and start on that?
No, I kind of stumbled into it. My brother had gotten a piano, electric piano. Actually, electric chord organ is what it was.
Wow.
An ace tone. It was a cheap version of a Farfisa.
Yeah.
And he was taking lessons and everything. I wasn't really inspired by the piano. And I wasn't really getting it with the bamboo flutes we had and the other things, xylophones in our bedroom.
Right.
And I wound up running into some kids in the parking lot behind my house on bikes, and one of them played drums. And his buddy played guitar, and they'd be in his bedroom bashing away. And I started hanging out with them, and eventually I decided I wanted to get a guitar, and that's how I started got into it.
Wow, that's great.
It seemed like a fun thing and interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And when you got the guitar, how old were you at that point?
I was about 15.
Okay.
Started late. I started pretty late, 14, 15.
Yeah, it's interesting because through reading your books, you know, we went through very typically, like a lot of us who played music, of, you know, getting around with the friends and then the local scenes and so forth. Yeah. And you were in Boston at this time growing up.
Yeah, I was in Connecticut. I grew up in Connecticut.
Okay. So I remember reading a lot about that you were developing your chops and so forth and kind of playing in bands locally and so forth. Tell us a little bit about just that, being a kid. What kind of kid were you? Like, were you a sports kid? Were you a happy-go-lucky kid? And then how did that come into, you know, playing in a band thing?
Well, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky kid, I guess. I was on a track team in 9th grade.
Whoa. And
I was a sprinter.
Yeah.
But I got the bug for the guitar, and, you know, the only way to get that was to get a job. So I got a job picking apples.
Wow.
For $1 an hour.
Right.
34 hours a week, all day Friday and Saturday, all day Saturday and Sunday, and after school.
Right.
And I managed to save up some money and got my first guitar, a Japanese Taisco Del Rey. And I started, playing it and taking some lessons here and there.
Right.
Hooked up with a local a kid a few years older than me who happened to be the best guitar player in town. And one day we were in an electronics store testing tubes on our amplifiers, and on the wall were a number of used guitars and a bass up on the wall.
Right.
And I had bought a brand new Fender Stratocaster, $265 in 1965.
Wow.
And I had it. It was beautiful. And I was looking around the shop, and there was a Fender Precision bass on the wall. And I took it down. I couldn't believe how big it was. I'd never really held one in my hand before.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is like an aircraft carrier. Look at this monster. This is cool. And the strings are like telephone wire. Forget the guitar strings. And we plugged in, and it made the shop shook. And I said, I'm in. How much is this? And the guy said it was 1965 64 precision bass, like James Jamerson's bass.
Right.
Did all the Motown, all the classic stuff was pretty much done on a bass like that, or others. And it was $125 used. I bought it, and that day I became a bass player. I never looked back. I sold the guitar to a friend.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So you still have that Tesco Del Rey?
No, I sold it. I have no, and I still can't remember who I sold it to. I have no idea where it went.
Yeah. Well, so did you keep the 60? Was it 65? 64.
64 P bass. No, later on at the end of high school, I decided I saw Ronnie Wood play the Jeff Beck group at Yale University.
Wow. What a show.
And he had a Telecaster, the new 1968 reissue Telecaster bass, they were calling it.
Yeah.
I thought, I got to get that because he sounded so great. And I sold the Precision bass and got the Telecaster bass, which I didn't particularly care for. It didn't sound good at all. I made a mistake there.
Right.
So I hooked it on for a while with that. And we played, at that point, we were playing a lot. We were playing every weekend around Southern Connecticut. So I spent my last 2 years of high school playing every Friday and Saturday night. We were in, we'd be in Massachusetts or upstate New York or Rhode Island on the beaches or Connecticut. And we worked a lot.
Yeah. And this is, would you say cover band?
Yeah. We played Young Rascal songs and My Generation and stuff like that.
Awesome. And how big was the so-called British invasion coming out, the Beatles and the 64 thing with, of course, Ed Sullivan? Was that a big impact as well for you?
Yeah. I mean, I thought at the time I wasn't playing, and I thought, it's interesting. It didn't really strike me for a while. It didn't strike me until up until about the point, maybe Rubber Soul, I really started getting into the music and into the Beatles music. Yeah. And learning the guitar and learning guitar parts and learning how to play Drive My Car and Taxman and songs like that, and Young Rascal songs coming up.
Right.
I was a pretty good rhythm guitar player at that point. And then I switched to bass, and nobody in my town really, there was one other bass player, an older guy that was really good, but he didn't play much. So I was the only guy around. So I realized there's a lot of guitar players, but no bass players. So I'm in a good situation here.
Yeah.
Pursued that. And
interestingly, growing up, and for me, it was in the 70s, and I remember having the same impression as well, that hey, there's a lot of guitar players, but there's very few bass players.
True.
So I went to junior college to play bass because everybody says guitar players are lame, they can't read bass clef. And I took that challenge. I literally said, well, that's not true.
Right.
But I found joy playing bass in an entire different way. Right. It's an animal on its own. It holds the band down, and it's the heartbeat of the song.
Yep.
So that to me was something that is extremely unique about the bass guitar. I think a lot of people didn't understand. Right. Because I guess, there's a lot of guitar hero worshiping coming out of the 60s, especially after Clapton and Hendrix showed up.
Right. And like Leo Fender said, it was electric guitar. He wanted guitar players to be able to play it. And when people don't see the upright double bass, they assume that the electric bass player is also a guitar player. Because it's not, when you look closely, it doesn't look much different than a guitar, even though it's a lot longer. If you look closer, they assume you're a guitar player. So they don't connect the bass guitar to bass playing sometimes.
Right.
So people go out to your car and put your favorite song on and blast it, then roll the bass off. And how's that sound? How's that working for you?
Yeah. Well, especially I think, during the 60s, there was a lot of creative writing in compositioning. I think out of that era, we got a lot of talents and artistry for music and breaking boundaries.
Right.
And from bass playing point of view, I heard a lot, especially like Motown. I'm sure you're a big Motown fan, right? And of course, guys like McCartney just had this fun walking factor that made you pulse and move.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I definitely resonated with all that. And even something as simple as, I wouldn't say simple, but when Hendrix Experience came out, and Noel was a guitar player that went to bass, but yet his approach with Jimmy really gave the trio a different soundscape. Yeah.
Right. And then there was Jack Bruce came along with Cream, and he was doing all kinds of stuff. And he was a seasoned jazz player, starting upright bass, played fretless bass, and he was just wailing. And there was John Paul Jones in Led Zeppelin, also a session bass player and a great keyboard player. Yeah. Played church organ in church and all that, and very good musician. So those were great role models for me growing up, that those guys were really doing it on the bass.
Yeah.
Felix Pappalardi and Mountain was another great bass player. There was just a bunch of them. I mean, Leo and 10 years after, great walking bass, just amazing walking bass parts, fast and furious,
Right.
They were all those bands were great in their own way. They didn't sunk each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what made the 60s such a great era for music. It's not just the counterculture in the so-called movement of the society, but the music reflected such a freedom and expression of, within the self artistry, right? Opposed to just where here's a hit song, let's all copy it. The crooners were doing that like early 60s, late 50s, 60s, right? So it was template, a lot of singing groups.
Right.
Wasn't the kind of artistry that we start to get, I think, especially after 65, 66.
Right.
I think that's really where it started to explode from that.
Right. Prior to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and all that, it was all solo artists like Bobby Rydell and Frankie Avalon, Paul Anka.
Yeah.
They did singles, they did one song, and people didn't really buy albums. And it wasn't until the Beatles came along, people started buying whole albums and listening to all 10, 12 songs. Yeah. And that revolutionized everything at that point too. And then there was this great wealth of music. I mean, all kinds of great bands came out. And the Jefferson Starship didn't sound like Steppenwolf, and Steppenwolf didn't sound like the Doors, and the Doors didn't sound like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Right.
But they're all really, really talented bands, and most of them are still playing today. That's how good they were. They're still out there.
Yeah, that's amazing that everybody's lasted and keep pushing, keep going, and so forth. So let's talk about that. When you were doing your weekend gigs while in high school and so forth, I'm assuming you're making pretty good money, because this is back then when establishments paid bands to perform. Yeah,
we were doing pretty good. We did a lot. We played well, and I was getting kicked out of school every other week for my haircut. And one day I was arguing with the assistant principal and saying, I'm not going to get a haircut ever when I get out of here. And if we get a haircut, we'll look stupid. We're going to lose money. And I'm not here for smoking or fighting or skipping school or bad grades. I got great marks. Why you give me a hard time? I said, I said to him, I'm making more than you are. You're 40 and I'm 16. He went wild. He didn't like that.
Wow.
I said, hey, I want to do this. I'm serious, So I have the conviction that I did take it 50, 60 years down the road from that conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that I feel you so much on that story, because I had the same conversation with my principal, with my mom in the office, all saying, my son's got a career going here. What are you guys doing?
Right.
The stupid cutting hair thing, I just couldn't understand, because they want to uniform all of us into worker bees. I guess that was the key. Right.
The whole work for the man deal.
Yeah.
Programs.
So coming out of high school, of course, there's that immediate decisions. Now, what am I going to do? were you still staying with the group of guys that you were playing with, or did you now start seeing other guys that start to splinter apart, going to school or whatnot?
It's splintered off because, well, actually, we the draft was going full tilt boogie at that point.
Yeah,
it was turning 18, the draft age, and a couple of our guys were about to get drafted, and we merged with another band in our town that we thought was the other good band in town. So now there was 6 of us.
Wow.
And their bass player was going to play guitar. I'd be the bass player. We had 2 keyboard players, 2 PA systems. We thought, this is pretty cool. We're going to really do something here. You know, we're working on our own songs. My band had done a couple of 45s, which gave us the title of being recording artists.
Right. So let's talk about this. I mean, you're in high school when this happened, right?
Yeah.
So who's the business mind here? Was it you, or who inspired to say, hey, you know what? We need to start to go up to emulate the guys who's making money.
Kind of myself and the guitar player that I've been taking lessons from.
Okay.
They heard of a deal where we could get to pay so much money, get 1,000 copies pressed of a 45. So we did that. And we'd bought a PA system. We bought a custom PA system, a white Naugahyde.
Right. The Roland Tuck.
Yeah, we're making payments on that, $100 a month. It was one of the first ones. It was one of the first ones in Connecticut, and we actually rented it to the McCoys. The McCoys came to Connecticut to play. We paid like $400. We paid off a third of the payments for that one gig.
Yeah.
Rick Derringer borrowed it. And so we were business minded. You know, we kept thinking about that. We trying to sell records. It's a great thing to have a record. We sell it at the dances and the clubs we played at.
Right.
Try to get radio. And our booking agent was the biggest disc jockey in Connecticut at that time. We worked our way into that slot.
Wow.
And that was going great. And then I went to rehearsal. I was just graduating high school, and all was well. And I went to rehearsal, and they said, you know, we were talking, and we figured that 4 guys make more money than 6 guys, so you're out.
Wow. That's so brutal.
And I bought a van. I talked my father into going halves on a van.
Yeah.
He could drive to work, and I'd play half the weekends, and had a Corvair van. When I drove down the street, I just couldn't believe that it happened. I just couldn't believe it. I said, it's probably the best thing ever happened to me. I got so angry. First, I got bummed out and felt sorry for myself, whatever. And then I got angry. I said, I'm going to show these clowns.
Sure.
Absolutely. If it's the last thing I do, I'm going to do this. So I did. I licked my wounds, went home. And I really didn't play for a while. I went to a community college for a while, basically to get out of the draft. Yeah. And of course, that wasn't really what I wanted to do. Then the draft ended, and eventually ended. But I moved to Boston. I had a lot of friends there, so I went up to Boston and just started meeting people and trying to get in groups in Massachusetts, which I did. We kept networking with that, and playing in some Boston bands. And I played in a band with a guy named Barry Brandt that became the drummer for Angel. Yeah. Way back in 1970, 71, something like that.
Wow.
Guys like that, you know.
That was a very, very robust scene over in Massachusetts, wasn't it?
Yeah, and there was no such thing as Aerosmith. There was no band Aerosmith. I mean, that's how long ago that was. Jay Giles were the kings of the roost for sure. And
the college was there.
Yeah, played a bunch of played some Berkeley guys. We had a cool band called Killer Oats playing John McLaughlin songs in nightclubs. That one was real big.
Wow. And you were doing this in 70, 71?
Yeah, 71, 72.
That's just, it's out of the box, first of all, right?
Yeah.
Because usually what's on the charts is that a little bit more softer, easier listening pop and so forth.
Right. And, we were kind of music snobs. You know, we like progressive stuff, listening to a lot of jazz at that point. Yeah. And I didn't want to be a jazz guy. I didn't want to go to Berkeley school and be in Dave Brubeck's band or anything like that. And I want to do the jazz route. I want to play creative, heavy music like the first King Crimson album, like the Moody Blues, orchestrated classical English sounding music, as opposed to, say, the Grateful Dead or the Jefferson Starship or the West Coast kind of sound, the San Francisco sound that was going around.
Yeah.
And I thought the best place to find that would be to go to England. So I went to England. I was 21 and I just got on an airplane and went to England. Camped out there for a year and a half till I got kicked out.
And that was an incredible chapter in the book about the England, because I'm just assume, because I'm a little bit younger than you, and I've always read about this, that English cats love America. They love the bluesy stuff, and so they emulated and imported that over. And then next guys here in America start going over there, especially after Jimi Hendrix made it.
Right.
Once that kind of opened the door, everybody kind of went, well, there's the pool of talents over that side of the pond.
Right.
So yeah, you want to share a little bit just about the way how you made that decision and your experience.
Well, yeah, one of my favorite bands was Spooky Tooth, the original Spooky Tooth band.
Yeah.
And Luther Grosvenor was the guitarist who later became Ariel Bender in Moth the Hoople.
Yeah.
And I met him, went up staying at his house and goofing around. We were doing 4-track. His neighbor was doing 4-track stuff, and I played on some of that stuff. And I was surprised that he and the guys in Spooky Tooth were really into Nashville. They were into Barefoot Jerry and Area Code 615, which are two groups in Nashville from back in the 70s that were the top session guys. And that's all they listened to, those guys and Stevie Wonder, all into the Nashville thing. They're going to go meet Traffic, they're going to be into some new thing, and they're into country music, American country music.
Yeah.
That's what they were into. And when Mike Harrison from Spooky Tooth eventually did a solo record and did it in Nashville with all those Nashville cats playing with him. And it's cool. And it's just a circle I didn't know existed. I didn't realize the influences of where they were coming from as opposed to where I was coming from.
Yeah.
And it made a good combination of music.
Right.
And I met a bunch of people. I met Michael Corby. The first night I was there, I met Michael Corby, who I thought was an interesting guy, who later started a band called The Babies.
Right.
He brought me to a party with a band called the Pink Fairies. Who were the Pink Fairies? But the Pink Fairies were the English equivalent to the MC5. They were revolutionaries and they were just crazy. I began living in a flat where the drummer was staying, and they would have a van that would come in the afternoon with a stretcher and take him to rehearsal on a stretcher because he was so high from the night before. And at the party was a big press party in London. Yeah. And at this party were the MC5. So I met Wayne Kramer. Then the first night I was there, I met Wayne Kramer and Pink Fairies and a number of other people. And just started traveling a circle of people that were musicians. And trying to put bands together and hustle recording studio time, which was expensive back then.
Yes.
There weren't Pro Tools and sharing files on your telephone.
Yeah, all right.
A lot of money to be in a brick and mortar building to get yourself on tape. And I was able to play with a number of people. I wound up playing with Michael Monarch, who was from Steppenwolf, who is the original guitarist from Steppenwolf, who plays on Born to Be Wild.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy. He plays like Jeff Beck. He's a scary good guy. And he lives here in Florida where I live. And I see him
That's awesome.
Playing at the beach,
Yeah, big circle came around, right?
Yeah, and they started, that was the beginning of a band called Detective. Detective was sponsored by Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, I remember hearing the name Detective. Yes.
And Tony Kaye from Yes was the keyboard player. Michael DeBar from Silverhead was singing. And I became friends with Michael and John. The drummer was a Boston drummer, but living in LA.
Right.
And we're all still friends today. I joined the band and they had a drummer named Herman Röhrbel, young guy from Germany. And Herman said one day, we should start our own band because the other guys are kind of like doing the vegetarian thing or whatever was going on. Michael wanted me to play with a pick and I didn't want to. And he says, I know a great guitar player I saw at the Marquee. It's an American guy. So we met this guy named David Cooper, great guitar player from Westchester, New York. Same thing, moving to England. His band's playing in London. They're all geeked about that. Yeah. And he quits them to join the two of us who have nothing to offer except our steam,
Yeah.
We're going to make it. And he quits the band from New York. They want to kill him. And we put an ad in the paper for singers. We got Peter French, who just left Cactus. And he had been playing with Tim Bogart and Carmen Appice in Cactus.
Yeah.
And they were breaking up Cactus so they could go join Jeff Beck. And Peter came back to England looking for a band to play with, and he joined our band. So the four of us started recording, and Herman knew Robert Stigwood of the Robert Stigwood organization, the guy behind the Bee Gees and RSL Records and Saturday Night Live. And they were paying our rent, and I could pay the rent. That was amazing.
Yeah.
An apartment eventually, and then one day at rehearsal, while we were recording, thinking we're getting somewhere, both myself and Herman got the word from the Home Office that we're illegal aliens. We should leave immediately.
Wow.
So I tried to fight it. I made up some fictitious stuff about getting married to some girl that didn't exist, and I thought, I'm going to get arrested doing this. This may not be the way to go.
Right. So did you not have a work visa?
Yeah, I never did.
Okay.
I went there, and the first day I was there, the guy goes, "What are you doing?" "I'm going to go to school." "Well, where's the paperwork?" "I don't have any." So he gave me a 1-month visa. So I just disappeared for a while in the traffic, and eventually they caught up to me. And I went back to Boston and joined what would become the group New England, and Herman went back to Germany and started an unknown band called the Scorpions.
Right.
So that's how that happened. That was my time in England, about a year and a half.
Wow. And when you made the decision to go to England, I mean, did you have a lot of money saved up and going, okay, I can crash and burn if I need to? Or did you just go, I could do it, and just left?
Yeah. I had about maybe $1,000 and spent it by the second day buying new clothes. I burned all my American clothes. some cool snakeskin boots, and I was looking stylish.
Yeah, yeah.
We were styling, and it was all part of the thing,
Oh, absolutely. You got to look the part.
I remember coming back to Boston, and people in the airport thought I was Keith Richards or something. Look at this rock star. This guy must be a rock star,
There you go. There you go.
It's got blue boots and black velvet pants.
But you know what? I think that's the fun part about that industry, the music business, that I really do miss today. Right. Because at that time, there was definitely, there's a mystique. There was the superstar persona, and you can see the aura or the energy from not only just the outfit, but the haircuts, even down to the sunglasses, right?
Right.
It was just something that was so uniquely different. And I think that itself, the pairing, if you did great music, you were going to be in.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like my uncles, my mom's uncles that had bands, they looked like business guys. They had short hair and wore suits and ties to their gigs. It looked like anybody. Could be a jeweler, could be a school teacher. They all looked the same.
Right. Yeah.
And in high school, they thought we were out of our minds, and we should all be arrested.
Oh, funny. Well, yeah, America, I think at that point, thinking that everybody with long hair was hippies, and they were up to no good.
Yeah.
Drug users and frivolous and casual sex, and what counterculture represented.
Right. I always got upset. People say hippie, so I'm a musician. I'm not a hippie. I'm not doing flower power thing. I'm not wasted on drugs in the curb someplace.
Yeah.
I'm a musician.
Yeah.
But that went pretty well. I had met Michael Corby. Like I said, the first day I was there, we played together for a while. Mm-hmm. And he said, "You want to work with Luther Groves from Spooky Tooth?" And I was going, "Hell yeah."
Oh, yeah.
The next day I met Luther, and so I was just, come to Jesus moment for me. I was like, I can't believe I'm staying. This guy's flat, and he's being nice to me. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
But Michael was kind of a strange character in a way. And Luther said, I've got an offer to join Steeler's Wheel, because Luther plays slide guitar on Stuck in the Middle with You with Steeler's Wheel. Yeah. That's him playing guitar, even though they aren't known as being a heavy English rock band. He was coming, but he did the session, and he said, they've offered me to go on a tour. Do you think I should go with them, or would I go with Michael's new thing he's trying to put together? I said, you should go with Steeler's Wheel. Forget us. Just move on.
Right.
He joined Steeler's Wheel. And then I came back to Boston, and there was nothing. And then now there's nothing to do. And I'm thinking, God, now what?
Yeah.
Definitely changed backwards. And so one day I was out across the street in the park writing lyrics. Went to my apartment, to have lunch, and I turned the TV on, and there was the Mike Douglas show.
Yeah.
Which was the big thing back in the afternoons in the 70s. It was a talk show, and he had musical people in there.
Yes.
And he was on there saying the next big band is coming up next, and they're going to be great. They're blah, blah, blah. So I kept it on and see who he was talking about. And it was this new band called The Babies. There's my friend Michael sitting Mike Douglas, and they got limousines outside and a big record deal on Chrysalis Records and the next big thing. And I'm saying, maybe I screwed up. Maybe I should have known Michael.
Yeah. It's always luck and timing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's being in the right place.
It's networking, being there. You can't stay home with mom and dad.
Yeah.
And so many people, you hear those stories, city to city. This guy's the best guy in Philadelphia. Yeah, well, there's guys that are really good in all the earth.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that, to realize that that's okay. You're the hot guy in your block, in your subdivision, but if you really want to do it, then you're competing with the whole world. Yes. Everything's recorded before, everything recording right now, and everything in the future. There's some hot guy like Eddie Van Halen's going to come along and blow the roof off the place. If you're a guitar player, can you do that? Or is that your focus?
Right.
So yeah, it's about networking, meeting people. And back then there was no internet, so it was all about having a phone book. I've got phone book with all these crazy numbers and people. I can't believe I had their phone number in the first place.
Oh, I bet.
But networking, management companies and record company people and disc jockeys, and it was all on a telephone. And if you missed a phone call, you could miss out. And putting ads in the paper, which people still do to some extent, but I put ads in the paper in Boston. We put ads in the paper in London. I put ads in the paper in Los Angeles. That's how I got in Alcatrazz.
Right. Was that something like the Recycler Music Connection?
It was the Recycler.
I'll tell you, that paper has probably made more bands than any other paper in the world.
Well, it was also, I think it was BAM magazine, actually.
Oh, was it? BAM, I remember BAM as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was funny because on a jump of 10 years in time, but quickly that Michael Monarch, they were doing the detective thing in London, and we were hanging out in LA, and I said, I'm going to put an ad in the paper. And Michael says, only crazies are going to call you. You're wasting your time. And I said, well, answer me one question. Is the ad free? And he said, yeah. So I'm going to put an ad in the paper. And I did. I got like 70 phone calls, and I got the phone call that became the nucleus of Alcatrazz, but we'll save that story for a bit.
Right.
It's all networking. It's all about networking and schmoozing and meeting people and available.
Yeah.
Scene.
So important. So important. Okay. Let me just backtrack real quick, because in regards to your playing, you're more than accomplished. You push the envelope, and in the type of bands that you've been playing with are not, your typical 1-4-5, call it a day, the same old, same old. So when you're in your formative years, especially once you got the bass guitar, did you really just kind of buckle down, or is this natural talent for you? How did you become the type of bass player that you start to go down the road on?
I just listened to albums. I holed up, and when I moved to Boston, I had a stack of records, Humble Pie records and Ted Nugent records, and just played along to the bass parts.
Yep. Taught
myself a lot of songs like that, trying to figure out Beatle bass lines, which are sometimes complicated.
Yeah.
And then, Yes came out, and that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to play that kind of music. I just, it kind of went along with who I was playing with. It's rather really simple or play a little more complicated. I didn't set out to be a guy like Chris Squire, really flashy bass, but I preferred more of the style like Greg Ridley, who played in Spooky Tooth and Humble Pie, really solid, played to the song kind of guy.
Right. Lock with the drum.
The band is solid like Led Zeppelin. John Paul Jones has some really cool little tricks, but they're subtle. You don't really know he's doing it. He's playing two notes at once. So you trying to learn the song, going, it doesn't sound right. Yes, he's playing two notes. He does these tutorials where he does a sly grin, going, I'm playing two notes at the same time. So he's cool.
I think that the Zeppelin platform allowed them, all four of them, really spread their wings quite a bit. Yeah. And Jimmy was, Page was such a savvy producer. And I think a lot of it because he came from the studio days where he learned from all the older guys.
Right.
So
worked
he,
yeah.
oh yeah. And I think that for rock and roll or hard rock, there wasn't that many thinking heads as musicians, you know. So he stood out, and this is what makes, you know, I think you stand out, because I've noticed that your approach, it's just not like, hey, I'm a rock star thing. And your approach is, hey, you know, let's make this band, this record, this tour, this, you know, it's always about growing it.
Right.
And that's something that, again, this is something that just came from you, right?
Yeah, you kind of water the song and let it grow.
Yeah.
Most of my bass parts were just things I thought up myself, and I just stumbled along. Go, well, does this fit? Yeah, that fits. Does that fit? No, that's wrong. How about this? That works.
Yeah.
And I would go home at night, and you know, we'd work on songs, and I'd try and do two or three different versions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
you never had any formal like theory training, things like that, other than your guitar lessons?
No, just some rudimentary rhythm guitar things, and
right.
And I try to teach myself things. I try to teach myself how to read, and I have the patience for that. And never quite grasp
yeah,
it.
I feel you.
it's just you know, it's just practice, you know.
Yes.
But how much time do you have, and what I really needed, and I wish I had taken more lessons when I was younger from some great bass players, but I didn't. I might have made things go quickly, but then it kind of, you form your own thing, you know. Yeah. Like Jack Cassidy plays in the Jefferson Starship. He's a great bass player. He plays some amazing, crazy stuff on the bass.
Yes.
And he's just an adventurous guy as a bass player.
Yes.
And I admired guys like that. I thought John Entwistle was the god. Still is to me. Godhead is John Entwistle. Yeah. He did everything with picks, fingers, harmonics. Just you know, wrote it around strings, helped develop the Marshall amplifiers.
Right.
Did so many things. Yeah. And his what he played was just powerful, you know, we did My Generation High School, you know, half-assed, but I was going for it. You know?
There you go. Yeah. The Who definitely, I think, influenced a whole generation of regards to how the drums and the bass didn't have to just sit in pockets.
Yeah.
You know, they can work counter melodies, contrapuntals, all these little things. And I myself, I tell you, you know, in 1981, when the Who call it their, you know, final farewell, 81, right?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that show and coming away with just going, I can't believe, number one, Pete was, I think, 39 at that time. And he was more energetic than most 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
And that made such an impact in the paradigm in regards to, hey, this is entertainment business. Don't go up there and thinking you're going to stand there like you're sitting on the edge of your bed and expect everybody wants to go out and buy your T-shirts and buy your records.
Right.
You know? So yeah, little things like that definitely has always, I think, you know, made the difference in regards to, okay, how hard are you going to work for your, you know.
Right. And I always thought the Who are the purveyors of heavy metal. Forget Ozzy Osbourne and all that stuff. The Who were in a class by themselves. They were with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, older band. And they were just murdering those amplifiers. And you can imagine those little clubs they were playing in London, just how loud they were, and playing them and just smashing stuff and knocking things over. And just on 10, you know, jumping and of course, they just stood there and played, held the thing down. The other guys all jumped around, threw the microphone around. But to me, that was the first heavy metal music. It was like, to me, it was outrageous. It was way different than the Stones or the Beatles or the Surgeons or Dave Clark 5, the Kinks, and go down the list of the big bands. Nobody played that hard and heavy as they did. They were just going for it. And I thought, I like that. Something about that caught my ear. And that's been my style. Not that I've tried to play like Whistler, play harmonics or do all the pop stuff.
Yeah.
But that's in the back of my mind. That's the nucleus of my heart, is that whole time period and that kind of bass playing.
Right. Well, I definitely noticed the path that you know your band. Let's start with New England. You know, New England, and I'll share with the audience and you regards to when I first heard of New England, I was buying teen magazines such as 16, Tiger Beat, things like that because of Kiss. Right. So now I know there's a story that ties with coin management with you and in that particular group, and it makes perfect sense because you got to do the MSG gig, which it's iconic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So give us a kind of just a brief regards to that era where, you know, the coin management, the hype of the late 70s, and then having to do the Madison Square Garden gig.
Well, originally what happened was I came back, talk about networking. I came back to Boston, looking around, nothing going on. One night I was in a Greek restaurant, Kenmore Square in Boston, with some band people. And there was a woman named Cindy Daly, who's a singer. And she said, I know a band looking for a bass player. And I said, yeah. And when I was playing with Barry Brandt, we rented a house in Connecticut near Yukon, like 3 years prior to this. Mm-hmm. And there was a club there called Shabu, run by three brothers, and they hired Johnny Winter and Ed, all those guys. Mm-hmm. And my friend, who was the drummer in my first band, was going to Yukon. He said, I heard this amazing band from North Carolina. And they were called Fatback. They got hair down to their feet someplace, big keyboards, big bass, big drums, singer, no guitar player, and they're heavy duty. They did a whole half-hour version of Todd Rundgren's song Under the Ice, and they're amazing. They're called Fatback. Huh. That's nice. So, you know, 3 years goes by. I went to England. I'm back in Boston, looking for something to do. And Cindy says, I know a band looking for a bass player. And I said, yeah, who? She said, a band called Jack. And I said, that's nice. And she said, well, they're called different things before that. And she named a few more names. The kind of guys that keep ahead of the law by changing their name all the time. You know? And so finally she said they were called Fatback. And I said, whoa. I said, do they have Southern accents? And she said, yeah. I said, give me the phone. And sure enough, it was that band, Fatback. Wow. And it was Jimmy Waldo. And next month, coming December, it will be exactly 50 years that I met these guys.
Right. Wow.
There in December 1974.
Yeah.
And auditioned for them. And I went to, they had a ranch house they owned, big trucks in the yard, cats, dogs, people. I go down in the basement.
Wow.
They had more gear stuff near than a music store. And the stuff was hot wired together, and stuff wasn't grounded. It sounded amazing. You know, Jimmy had a customized RMI electric piano, the Hammond organ, Leslie's upside down, Marshall cabinets, big drums, playing original music. And I listened to the music, and I thought it was pretty good. Right. And they had, I was the 17th guy to audition for them. And Jimmy said, well, tomorrow on Sunday is 6 o'clock, and let you know if you're the guy. So I called them at 5 o'clock, and I said, I'm the guy, right? They said, yeah, 3 of us like you, 1 doesn't, so you're in. So that became New England, 1975. Wow. We didn't play Madison Square Garden for another 4 years.
Right.
So we started off playing, we played like 90 gigs in 75 up through Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Montreal, all the private schools. And,
was it original music at this time, or are you still throwing covers in?
Playing some other stuff to get hired. Sure. And we couldn't get much further with that. It was no end street, and we could get a bigger PA or better truck. We're still playing cover songs in a bar. And we want to play our own music, be our own selves. And then John and Jimmy got an offer to play with a girl named Annie McClune, like Linda Ronstadt. And we broke the band up. I went to Los Angeles eventually with some other friends of mine. Yeah. And that record came and went. And then 2 years later, they said, we're going to get back together again. Yeah. Would you consider coming back? We can't find anybody that plays like you do. And I said, no. I said, it's snowing back there. I'm in Los Angeles. No. Yeah. I know it's just 16 degrees and it's November. Yeah. And they called me 3 times. And I met Al Stewart, auditioned for Al Stewart's For Year of the Cat. Wow. And I had the gig to do a tour, which would be the Year of the Cat tour. The record had not come out yet, but I learned the songs and played in a rehearsal studio with him. He's looking for a good backup band in different cities. And I thought, wow, you know, and it was a lot of money for the time if I got the gig. And these guys said, come on back and starve. We're going to do our original music, and hope we get some of this. Right. You know, but I thought about it, you know, and I've never been a side guy. I've never been a for hire kind of guy it's always been part of the group, of the scene itself. Yeah. And what we had, I liked what we had. I thought our original music was really good. Yeah. And just before I'd I'd gone to Los Angeles. Someone gave me a tape of this guy. So this guy is great. They're getting a record deal.
Mm-hmm.
He does all the stuff himself. And he's brilliant. You should go audition for him. Mm-hmm. And I listened to the tape and I thought it was really good. I said, not as good as what we're doing, but I'm going to pass. And I went to LA and it was the band Boston. Said, well, I still stick to my guns. I still like what we're doing.
Right.
In a different wavelength. And I'm the bass, but I'm making bass parts, not some guy showing me here, play this, play that.
Right.
So we went back and we rehearsed for 2.5 years. We had a deal in Philadelphia to do 16-track tapes through John, the guitar player. Mm-hmm. Jimmy and I drove taxi cabs for a while, and we put the band together. And eventually, the third set of tapes we made clicked. Someone played, a guy from Electric Records played our demo tape for the people behind Kiss at a gig in Providence, Rhode Island, in 1978. And they said, "Who are these guys?" And they said, "These guys are out in the woods and they're really, really good." And the big thing was, well, this is great, but can they do this live? I mean, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of singing, there's mellotrons, there's string parts. I mean, 4 guys can do this. I'm going, you got to check it out. And sure enough, that was us. And we met Bill Coyne. And we'd already talked to Clive Davis, and Clive Davis was coming to Massachusetts on our own recognition that we hooked that up. Turned it over to Bill O'Coin. He knew Clive personally and everything. So we auditioned for six record company presidents, flew to Massachusetts, up to the woods from the airport to see us do our thing in this little cottage with the walls knocked out. And inside we saw Pink Floyd, sounded great in there. It was perfectly tuned. It was loud, but not too loud.
Yeah.
And all 6 of those guys offered us record deals. We could have gone to RSL Records, again to Robert Stigwood, Crystal's Records. Chris Wright told me we're the best band he ever seen since he discovered Procol Harum. I'm going,
wow.
I'm going, yeah, right. Don't believe it. And all that happened. And, Clive Davis, he wanted us on Eris, his new label, Eris, they're really bad.
Right.
And he said, we just signed to Kinks, but you guys are heavy duty. Elektra said, you guys are the American Queen. We need you. We need an American band like that. We got Queen, want an American band like that too. You guys are the guys, sign here. And that was Danny Goldberg. We said, think about it. We went up going with Ron Luxembourg, who had been the president of Epic Records for 15 years and had a new label, but had a terrific team of guys he hired. And off we went with that. And that we did our first album, then we did the Madison Square Garden thing, as well as the Silver Dome, all the arenas in North America. Pretty much. We also toured with Journey, AC/DC, and the Kiss Dynasty tour. By the time we played Madison Square Garden, we'd already played on tour with Journey, AC/DC, and all that. So we got encores every night in the Kiss tour. That was never a problem. And it went great. And then as we went into our second record, the record company failed. Just went out of action. They spent all their money in 1 year rather than 3, and MCA pulled the plug. That out of the 40 bands we were acquiring, which we're going to keep 4, and you guys are one of the 4.
Wow.
So we go to LA to talk to Bob Seiner, who's the president of MCA. And here we are in MCA, a big label, and they got the Who and MCA. So people don't realize this. There's only 20 spots in the top 20. So you get a record to a radio station. Bob Dylan's got a new album. The Stones got a new album. Bob Seger's got a new album. Eddie Money's got a record. They're all in there. And here's you guys trying to be number 19 or 21, 23, not be number 75 and never get on the air at all. And you got to go to these radio stations to win them over to be the new guys. And then they bump somebody out of the way to put your record in there. So we learned how to play that game, and we did really well. We got the top 30. We got the Kiss tour and everything. And then we did a second record. In the middle of all that, it took another year or so of court. That kind of slowed us down. Did a third record with Todd Rundgren, which is really, really, really cool. Because we were all Nas fans. All 4 of us were heavy Nas fans.
Right.
Back up in Connecticut, one of my favorite American bands was Nas from Philadelphia.
I can imagine.
It was sharp.
Yeah.
So we're at Todd's house in Woodstock, not in the studio, but his own home. He had an A-frame house on his property, a studio in there in Utopia, did all the records there. And he was recording Psychedelic Furs, us and Utopia all at the same time.
Wow. That is crazy.
Designed the board. And upstairs upstairs in the A-frame was where the control room was. And he had a 4-poster bed up there. And one day we were tracking some song. We said, "Hey, Todd, how's that?" It was like silence. He fell asleep like 2 o'clock. He was out like a light.
Yeah.
But
How
he did
funny.
a great record. He played on the record. He wrote some lyrics for us.
Yeah.
And he said, and I said on the outdoors, whatever you do, don't we signed to Electra Records.
Mhm.
He said, whatever you do, don't let Electra screw this up. And they did.
Mm.
And that all went wrong.
And do you think this didn't, when you say it went wrong, is it because lack of communication, or is it just somebody not on the right camp? What would you assess on that?
Yeah, in the same way that on our second record, we had a song called Conversation, kind of an acoustic song, conversation, that's all we need, conversation, really pop song. It was kind of like Cruel to Be Kind, like Nick Lowe's.
Okay. Yeah.
And we thought that's the single for the times. And all of a sudden the Pretenders are on the scene, and Elvis Costello, the Knack, and here in the States, and the Clash, and we're getting bombarded with all this stuff from England.
Yeah.
And they're saying we're dinosaurs. We play music like Styx or Kansas, and that's all going to fade away, and it's
Right.
no good anymore. Yeah. So we wanted that song. We had a big song, a longer song that was like 6 minutes long, called Explorer Suite, 2 keyboard players, and it was a big progressive kind of opus thing.
Yeah.
And we're going to take that as a single to showcase how good this band is. And we're going, here we go. And sure enough, it never made the radio. It just wasn't right for the radio. Mm-hmm. And they even tried to have some engineer chopped up and edit it, and it sounded horrible. Right. And that didn't fly. So we went on the road, and we did the next record with Todd. And then on that record, we had a song called Don't Ever Let Me Go, which we thought was the follow-up to our song, Don't Ever Want to Lose You. Mm-hmm. And it was another cool song, and Todd was playing dual harmony guitar on the record with us. So I got Todd Rundgren playing with my band. Cool.
Right.
Cool.
Very
Can't
cool.
wait. It'd be cool if it gets on the radio. And we worked really hard, a lot of singing. And it was called Don't Ever Let Me Go. And there was another song that was kind of a fun rock and roll, Jerry Lee Lewis kind of piano thing. Mm-hmm. And it had no lyrics. And Todd goes, what about, Be My Dirty Dream or something stupid. But we'll call it DDT, Dirty Dream Tonight. You're the kind of girl that just be right for me, Be my dirty dream tonight. And we sent that demo to Los Angeles, and we got the word back that they said that people were dancing on the desks at the office. It was a hit. You guys knocked it out of the park. This is the song that's going to be the single. You guys are great. And we're leaving Todd's house in upstate New York, and he's going, don't trust him. Sure enough, they put the record out, and every female program director and music director said we were male chauvinist pigs and refused to play the record. We didn't get any. And then Electra dropped the band from the roster. They kicked us off the record.
That's terrible. I mean, that's amazing in a way, but you're right that from the label aspect of it, you can't trust them because they'll go with whatever floats.
Yeah, and it's like it's like really.
Yeah.
And we kept playing. We struck out on our own for a while.
Yeah.
Doing one-off gigs, us and the Ramones and University of Maine and all that kind of thing. And then John, the guitar player, quit.
Yeah.
We put the word out to all the guitar companies.
Yeah.
And Gene Simmons rang us up. He said, we got a guy here in LA that's working with us in the studio.
Right.
And he played for Dan Hartman, Laura Nyro, Felix Cavaliere. He played on Happy Days with Pinky, whatever her name was.
Tuscalero.
Yeah, so Fairmont Studios has a huge record plant studio in there no one knows about. But he's in there playing that music for the TV show. And he's writing with us. He said, what you guys need, a great guitar player, a really good guitar player, great singer, and has great songs.
Yeah.
And so he sent us a tape to Boston. We thought, this is pretty cool. It was like Heavy Foreigner. We thought, this is right. This is what we want to do for sure. And so he flew to Boston. We picked him up at the airport, drove him out to our little place out in the woods. And he sounded pretty good playing our stuff.
Yeah.
Then we surprised the hell out of him. We had learned his songs just for kicks while we were waiting around.
Yeah.
He couldn't believe how that sounded. He's going, man, nobody sounds like you guys in LA. Nobody sounds like you guys. what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Let's sleep on that. So next day we thought about it. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Do we keep the New England thing going with a new guy? Or let's just start a whole brand new damn band and go for it again.
Yeah.
Damn torpedoes. Let's go. And he had a lawyer friend in LA that could pay for rehearsal time. Jimmy had an aunt that we could crash to her house. She had a big house and an extra car. LA, here we come. And I just turned the key in my apartment, never saw it again. I had that place for 15 years. I had that one apartment. And just walked out of it. Just walked away.
Yeah.
Said, see it. And we rehearsed with Vinny for about a little less than 2 months.
Yeah.
And then the guys in Kiss decided he couldn't be in the band. His wife had just had babies, twins, and he was broke.
Yeah.
And you join Kiss to make a lot of money starting now, or do you want to hope your new band gets off the ground a year from now?
Right.
Obviously, he took the Kiss gig.
Sure.
So,
yeah. And for all the audience, this has been Vincent Cusano.
Yeah, that would be Vincent. Yeah.
Yeah. In the project, you guys were tentatively naming it Warrior.
Yeah. The name was kind of Warrior, just for kicks.
Yeah.
And
so, let me ask you this. You had this progression of 3 records with New England, where the first album came out. It was really nicely done. It was produced by Paul Stanley of Kiss.
Yeah. And Mike Stone from Queen.
Yeah. In that sound, I've listened to that record, and it reminded me very much of 78 studio sound. The drums were thumping. There's a lot of wetness on the overall ambiance of the thing and so forth. But, I will say this, Gary, the band was so freaking good. I don't think average 14, 15-year-old would understand it because it was complex. It was well organized, harmonized, and there was a lot of great movement. Right. So I was really surprised that the Aucoin management took you guys out and did this and didn't see that and go, okay, we're doing a stupid circus here for 10-year-olds. We need to take this group and kind of build its own foundation from it.
Well,
was there anything discussed like in that?
No, they did. Bill was excited. Bill, Rick Elaberti, everyone in the office, guys in Kiss like this. That wasn't the problem. The problem was we lost the record company.
Oh,
when that happened, it was like the car crash into the wall. Just everybody went to the hospital. It wasn't like a fender bender. It was a major go to the hospital car crash. Put the whole thing on ice. It was never the same again. We just couldn't get that momentum going. We lost our juju on that deal.
Yeah.
And Infinity Records does not mean forever. Their slogan was Infinity means forever. No, it means about 1 year.
Right.
And that destroyed us. We never recovered from that.
Yeah. So that was would you say the very first roadblock in your professional career? That really, because up to that point, it seems like you were constantly refining and growing it. And then you got it with the major management. Everybody loves you on the label. Got to see, big audience. Yeah.
And we got other bands, being very complimentary. Steve Perry saying, someday we'll be open for you guys. And we got the record on the bus. And they hired Mike Stone on the merit of our production. They hired him for the record.
Sure, sure.
From that, Michael got the gig with Asia and drank himself. But that all happened.
Yeah. And then you guys kind of just sat there and then after the Vinny thing where he left to go do the Kiss, you guys kind of sat there and again, are we going to stay in New England or what are we doing type of mindset?
Yeah, exactly. Now what?
Yeah. And then this is where the segue that then you decided, hey, let me take a look at other opportunities. And then Alcatrazz showed up.
Basically,
one thing for us fans, I'll say this, it always seems like you and Jimmy Waldo are like this, like you guys got along super well. Is that true?
We're the Brookline Bombers. Yeah. We live in the same, I got my place in my townhouse I lived in and got him a job driving cabs where I worked for a bit. Yeah. And we worked together building PAs for Todd Rundgren way back when. Yeah. We've been pretty tight. It'll be 50 years in a few weeks. Right.
Well, there's always a guy in the band that, you kind of always resonate with, you eat your food with, party with and whatnot. Yeah.
Right. We always agreed on music and and how to go forth with things. And sometimes the other guys didn't agree with us, or dragged their feet, or thought we were crazy, or thought I was crazy, whatever. You know, so when I first met them, I said, we got to change the name of the band, you know.
Yeah.
We picked the name Target, and there was no Target in Massachusetts until 1991, I think.
Right.
No department store called Target, but there was a band in Target in Nashville, which had the singer for Survivor's band. They had a record deal. But in those days, without the internet, we had no idea they even existed.
Yeah.
It wasn't still a big band. But we changed the name, and I tried to, you know, get some good photographers, could take some great pictures and all that kind of stuff. And keep moving it, you know, and rock out and do the thing.
Right.
And so Jim and I always agreed on that, how to go forth and what to do, and how to rent trucks, and how to, you know, to get the best deal and all that kind of touring stuff, and the budget thing. A lot of musicians aren't aware of that.
Right.
Some people I've played with had no clue about that.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's
and you just learned this on just as your career developed. You just learned it from friends, acquaintances, because, you know, like you said, no internet, no resources. You had to learn this somewhere, right?
Yeah, just thought up ourselves. So, you know, here in Alcatrazz, and we're riding around limousines. A limousine for the day or so back then is about $400 or $500.
Wow.
It's after the show. We're staying in town for the night.
Yeah.
So 10 people pile in a limousine and want to go to 3 different clubs all at once. And the poor driver's tearing his hair off, trying to appease everybody.
Sure.
I'm thinking, this is stupid. So I got the bright idea that at the time, Hertz rental cars, could rent 2 Lincoln Town cars a day for $39.99.
Wow.
So we said, let's get 2 white cars or 2 black cars in every city, and we'll look just as cool coming to a radio station or a record store to sign autographs, and 2 Lincolns as the 1 black Cadillac.
Yeah.
And at nighttime, you guys go that way, and me and Jimmy and the other guys are going this way. We'll meet you in the morning, and we'll do it tomorrow in Cleveland somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's be no arguing tonight. You go there, we're going there. And we saved about $300 or $400 a night doing that. And that was just one of my bad ideas. I said, you know, we saved a whole lot of money.
Yeah, yeah.
In New England, we were doing tour buses in 1979, that KISS tour. And the buses back then were $4,000 a week to run a tour bus. Plus the, you know, so you're looking at $12,000 a month.
Yeah, yeah. That's big money back then.
Yeah, we said, let's rent the Winnebago. We'll rent a motorhome. And the 4 of us will drive it. We'll take 4-hour shifts, and the co-pilot becomes the driver. The co-pilot's the co-pilot for 4 hours with the maps. He takes over driving. The driver goes to sleep. And the next guy becomes the co-pilot. We drove across America for about 3 or 4 months doing that. Never late, on time, and all the tour buses and all the, you know, cheap buses and Malahatchee buses, and everybody else were playing with Kansas.
Right.
We're on time, and and that thing costs $4,000 a month.
Wow.
$4,000 a week.
Yeah.
We got to the gigs, you know, it wasn't as stylish as the Groovy Bus, but we were starting to make money. And a lot of bands get a record deal and they start spending money like drunken sailors.
Yes.
And guess what? Then you have a big hit record, but you don't get any money from it. You're paying on back bills. So you're still renting an apartment and driving an old car.
Yeah.
Everybody else has the money except you. You just blew it up on all the silly stuff.
Were you taught this kind of money frugalness as a kid from the family? Because I mean, that's really thinking ahead and not just enjoying the moment of, hey, I'm a rock star now, let's just go nuts.
Well, because we played all these clubs in the 70s in Montreal in the wintertime and stayed all these horrible hotels and 4 guys to a room and all that stuff. Been there, done that.
Yes.
Driving little compact cars across the Canadian border in a blizzard. We get to the bar and bars closed due to snow. How much snow has that got to be in Montreal? Right. It's a lot of snow. When they close down, it's just a lot of snow. They got big snow. And same thing with the hotels that year. The first year we were in Holiday Inn with the KISS crew. They just booked the thing carte blanche. Put New England with the KISS crew just in the Holiday Inns. Those Gene and Paul are staying at the Hilton someplace, but it's okay. Yeah. But we're at the Holiday Inn, and every day the place was under construction. It was noisy. You call 11 o'clock for breakfast. We're closed. Can I get a hamburger? We're not open for lunch. Stupid.
Yeah.
And we're paying the money to be there. So this time we said, let's call all the brand new Motel 6s. And those places were like $14 a night, $15 a night. And the good news, across the street, across the highway was a Waffle House or a coffee shop. We could all have breakfast again for cheap and not have to be prisoners to the Holiday Inn trying to charge us, $7 for an orange juice.
Right.
So we did that. So now we're staying. Hirsch booked all the hotels. Jimmy took all gear. John took all the money, and I did all the publicity stuff. The four of us split the whole thing. Right. We fired our road manager, and we got all guys that lived in Massachusetts from now on. Nobody from out of town. No rental cars. No hotels for the crew.
Yeah.
And we started making money.
Good
and that's
job.
how you do it, And we,
that's the first time I've ever heard from any band that was savvy enough to do what you just explained, because that's brilliant. If we would have had hindsights on some of this, I think some of my band would have survived. But that's great. That's absolutely great that you took the bulls by the horn and you started looking at money management, responsibility management, cost, those type of things.
Yeah. Is it cost effective? What can we do? What we can't do?
So am I understanding during this time you guys didn't party?
Yeah, we were angels. And the thing is, we had a crew from local guys from Boston. They'd kill for us. These guys are younger guys, but they didn't have any. We auditioned guitar techs in New York.
Yeah.
Guys worked for Led Zeppelin. They didn't drive trucks. They didn't do guitars. What do you do? Well, we sit around and tell stories for $1,000 a week. So you're the wrong guy for us,
Right.
And oddly enough, my friend, the guitar player of my high school band, had gone through the army, and he was working for a band in New Haven called Swan. It was actually a really good band. The bass player, Craig, joined Foghat, and the drummer, Bobby Trello, played for Johnny Winter. Wow. And Jerry was driving their truck, and he'd sit in for a song or two with them and drive their truck locally around Connecticut. And I rang him up and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, we're in Long Island at Pink Floyd's place, rehearsing with Kiss in the other room. And we have no guitar roadie." He's going, I'll do it. No. We're friends, He's going, no, I'll do it. I said, "Well, I go in the black car and you go in the yellow truck. You don't get to go to the party because I can handle that." So he was our first guitar tech in that first tour. And that was kind of so when we played Madison Square Garden, the two of us were standing against my line of SVTs going, "We're bad. We're so bad." So much for our high school in Southington, Connecticut. The principal and the assistant principal and everybody else. So it's kind of cool to have him with me on special next, because that was the key word. We've played a lot of arenas, the Capitol Center in DC and the Omni in Atlanta, bigger places, but there's something special where I grew up was Madison Square Garden. You play in Madison Square Garden, oh God.
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, even growing up here in Texas, that I my whole life thinking going to go play the Garden because of stories like yours.
And we'd already played Sam Houston Coliseum, the Tarrant County Convention Center. We did that before we got to Madison Square Garden. So we were prime, and it's like, let's do it again.
Right. Oh my God. Wow, that's incredible on that. And that's the like I said, it just went up in such a great, so-called crowning moment. It's almost like validation. Right, like you said, standing on back line, looking out and thinking, "Hey, we've arrived from all that hardship," and then having to redo it again. That part takes. I mean, that takes heart. That takes a lot of soul and spirit out of you. So let's talk a little bit about that. I know I'm eating up a lot of your time.
That's cool.
But I'm going to tell you, the Alcatrazz thing is, I think, a lot of us. Coming of age of becoming musicians were perfect for your band to come out and give us what you guys delivered. Because I heard the Steeler record first and foremost when I was just graduating from high school. I was like, okay, who's this kid? He's great. He's not like Eddie Van Halen. He's different. Right. So when you guys got the word that Graham was looking for a band, as it was described in the thing, he at that time already picked up Yngwie, or did Yngwie come out?
No. Yeah, I put ad in the paper.
Okay.
And I got some phone calls. And one night, this crazy English voice said, "Are you a bass player?" And he said, "Imagine my neighbor Graham Bonnet and Barrymore Barlow from Jethro Tull on drums and Zal Clemson from Nazareth. We need a bass player. Are you the bass player?" He's screaming on the phone at me. I was going someplace and taking a phone call. Yeah, sure. Sounds good to me, man. And he said, "Do you know a keyboard player?" And I thought about it. I said, "Yeah, Jimmy lives a half a mile down the hill from me in West Hollywood."
Yeah.
So I called Jimmy and I said, "Listen, I got this phone call from this English guy." So I said to him, I said, he goes, "Well, who are you?" I said, "Well, you may not have heard of us, but I was in a band called New England." He goes, "You were backstage at Electric Light Orchestra in Providence, Rhode Island, eating all the shrimp." And I said, "Yeah, that was me." So he knew who New England was.
Yes.
And so we had a meeting, took a meeting, as they say in LA.
Yeah.
We went to the Hyatt House on Sunset, the Ride House where Led Zeppelin kept camp
Yep.
back in the 70s. Went to the bar, it was Sunday at noontime, and proceeded to get polluted in there. We staggered out of there. And we met Graham, and we won. We talked about having a band that was kind of like Michael Schenker, kind of like Rainbow,
Yep.
in the same vein, European sounding.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be wimpy. I mean, with the word wimpy, but it wasn't going to be the Carpenters. It wasn't going to be a different. It was going to be more of a hard rock thing, like early Rainbow or something like that.
Yes.
And that was the idea.
Yeah.
And so, because of our connection to Infinity MCA, Jimmy and I, Andy Truman, who was the manager, his neighbor was a big shot from MCA, and he was talking to Jimmy and I, saying there's a new company down in Anaheim, California called Rockshard. You guys should check them out. They think they do you really right.
Yeah.
So we went down and checked that out, and they said, "Yeah, we have nobody on the roster for starters. Got their own recording studio, their own office building. They got a rehearsal place with AC/DC's PA and the record plant truck out in the alley to record. Do you want to hang out here?" That would work. That'd work.
Yeah.
That works. So we went to Rockshire Records, and we were rehearsing in Graham's garage for a bit and putting songs together. And the phone rang one night on a Friday, and Andy says, Barry just called from England, and he's got a chance to play on the first Robert Plant solo record. So obviously, what's he going to do? He's going to play at Robert Plant. So now we got no drummer. Can't find Zal. He's on tour with Elkie Brooks somewhere in Africa. We need to find a guitar player by Sunday or Monday, or we got the deals off with these guys at Rockshire. We go, great. So somehow the next night, 24 hours later, we're in a rehearsal studio with all the gear and all the big amps and all that stuff. And this guy, a little teeny small amplifier and short hair, and it's Lawrence Jubbar from Wings, from Paul McCartney's band. Great guitar player, but not the guitar player for our band.
Right.
And the first thing he said was, "Can you turn down?" No. Not happening. Wrong guy. Right. Great guy. But I know he wasn't right. And of course, Andy's jumping around the room going, "That's it. Wings, Rainbow, New England. I can sell this." Go, "No, he's the wrong guy. He's the wrong guy."
Yeah.
Somehow in the next 12 hours, Andy made some phone calls, called some young kid at a record store. He said, "Who's hot?" And he said, "Yngwie from Steelers." So Andy called up Yngwie and said, "Do you want to rehearse for this new band with Graham Bonnet guys from New England?" He goes, "You're one of my friends, put me on, right?" Just a crank phone call. He's going, "No, it's the real deal." He goes, Yngwie's going, no, man. Really? Because he's such a Rainbow freak to work with Graham Bonnet. He was just frothing at the mouth. Yeah. So he came the next night on Sunday night and just pounded out all that stuff. Knew every Rainbow note that was ever played backwards and forwards. And I know that stuff. I'd never listened to that much stuff before meeting Graham of the Rainbow world per se.
Yeah.
Even every song backwards and sideways. And we said, this works. So we got Yngwie. And then in the meantime, we took about 2 months to find drummers. We auditioned a bunch of guys, and for different reasons, they didn't work out. Like Ainsley Dunbar came and played with us. Yeah. Awesome. Sounded like, when he played the drums, it sounded like how we should sound. This is the tempo.
Yeah.
Second time around it was even more intense. But he wanted to only play on the record. He just wanted to play on the record, maybe play in Japan, but not be in the band. We wanted a band guy. And we auditioned Clive Burr from Iron Maiden.
Right.
And he wasn't right either. He was kind of slow at it. And I don't think he had good health at that point. And that didn't work out. Even though people say he was in the band, I see all these things on the internet. Oh yeah, he was in the band. No, he was never in the band.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Graham's band. It was Alcatrazz. It was a group.
Yes.
Graham did not want to have a band. He's not a band leader. He just wants to sing and watch TV. and I go now, I've been here for like 3 hours, I need to get some more beer. That would be Graham. And again, they're the ones doing all the trucks and the Winnebago and the guys.
Right.
Worrying about paying everybody. That would be us with the management at that time. And Graham, not so much. And we ended up getting Jane Uvina, who had been in Alice Cooper's band, done a lot of sessions, worked for the Pointer Sisters and Ronnie Wood, the Yellow Jackets, fusion band, the Yellow Jackets.
Yes.
Really, really good drummer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Andy didn't like him because he thought Alice Cooper was Chris Old Hat and Over the Hill. Oh, you crazy, Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
And always going to be Alice Cooper. And he's a great drummer. And he told Yngwie that Jim and I didn't like him. He told Graham that Yngwie didn't like him. And we were going to rehearse one day with Yngwie saying, that guy from Alice Cooper, we thought he was pretty good. He goes, really, man? I thought he was great. I stopped the car and said, wait a second. He told us you thought he was not good. And he goes, no, he's really good. I never said that. Went to a payphone and called Graham. Graham, did you say that about the drummer? He goes, no. And he told me the 3 of you guys didn't like him. Oh, so we went to his house next morning, all of us, like 10 of us. I was supposed to go there for breakfast with a couple of receipts, just me, and I shook with 10 people going, hey, I brought my friends with us. By the way, this guy with the curly hair and the beard, he's the drummer. He's the guy. And that's Jane Uvina, who became the drummer for Alcatrazz.
Yeah.
And off recording the album, Lickety Split, all in about 3 or 4 months at the most, maybe. We rehearsed every day, backwards and sideways with those songs.
Yeah.
Went in the studio and slayed them onto vinyl.
Yeah.
And off went on tour.
Yeah. Well, that was it was more challenging, progressive than previous bands you were playing in, would you say? With the way how Alcatrazz developed that first record.
Progressive. It happened quicker. I mean, before we did
in sense of the musicality of it as well. In sense, it was very powerful. I would say that.
Yeah, it was powerful. Right. And New England had some ballads and quiet intro.
Right. You had definitely more structure, more melody, more I think thought.
Like Genesis or something, or intros are quiet. Acoustic guitar. We didn't have any of that. Just balls to the wall right from the first note to the end of the show.
Yeah.
And it changed. I started playing with a pick, so that was more aggressive. I was playing with a pick with Vinny.
Yeah.
And so all the New England stuff, as a bass player, I play with my fingers, and now I play with picks. Yeah. Different sounds.
But as the 80s rolled into that, we were talking about 83, 84. Right. That sound was revolutionary in sense of how bands were using that type of guitar sound. And, I mean, sure, we can start dating back on, how it became that. But I really believe that with the way that Alcatrazz came out with that first record with the Yngwie on it, it painted a different picture for a lot of us, because it gave us a point of view that, like you said, it was a rainbow, but this guy was killing whatever Blackmore was doing.
Right. And
that was our first thought.
And all the LA strip guys, there's the whole hair metal guys, we're all based pretty much on Aerosmith, which is based on the blues rock. So none of the guitar players could match what Yngwie was doing on the fretboard. None of them. Right. All great guys. Some of my really good friends in some of those bands, but they were Alcatrazz, Yeah. And even the name, like we were sitting around talking about names. Yeah. Another important thing. And we were thinking of names like Hunter or Tiger or something. Yngwie wanted Dungeons and Dragons, Excalibur.
Of course.
No.
Viking.
Yeah, the run-of-the-mill metal things. No.
Yeah.
So we said, we got to think of a name right now. So we're all sitting around, and I said, in New England, we're always stuck in the record rack between Olivia Newton-John and New Riders of the Purple Sage. And nobody goes to the N section, O section of the record. So they go to A's and the Z's, whatever.
Yes.
I said, it'd be cool if a band starts with an A, like ABBA, Aerosmith, AC/DC, Alcatrazz. It just came out of my mouth, Alcatrazz. And Andy jumped up and said it was brilliant, no parole from rock and roll, disturbing the peace, take no prisoners.
Yes.
There's so much we could do with that. So we said, let's do it. Sounds tough. That sounds tough and mean enough for what kind of music we're playing.
Absolutely.
That's not wimpy sounding.
Right.
So we put an extra Z on it because it reminded us of jazz and the Naz, pizzazz.
Right.
It looked cool, and it got us away from Alcatrazz Island, where the state of California sells T-shirts for that.
Yes.
They might not like us using that name.
Yeah.
So we cleared 2 other Alcatrazz bands in the Bay Area and got rid of them, paid them off, and got the rights to the name. And it became Alcatrazz, which was, again, a group. And I named the band. It wasn't Graham Bonnet and Alcatrazz. It was Alcatrazz. Right. Graham just wanted to be in a band and not be the guy, because he had never really done that, didn't want to do that.
Right.
Which,
no, we've always, as a fan base, perceived the band being the band. We never felt that here's Graham Bonnet from Rainbow and here's a group of guys that's supporting him. Yeah. We've always felt that this is an incredible band.
Yeah.
That of course had this great pedigree of the guitar slingers that went through the incarnations of different eras of it. But we've always revered, being an Alcatrazz fan, because the band was robust. The band had intensity,
right?
But that's great that, that how you guys kind of morphed and meld this chemistry together. Because, singers can sometimes be just like, okay, you got to do a little bit more than just showing up here, pal. But then at the same time, when you give them too much grief, they have a bad night. You're going, okay, I can't do that to the band. So what are we going to do? All right.
We had our moments. We still have our moments.
I mean, how could you? Yes, I understand. Yeah, I read the book. Everybody needs to go and get this book. I tell you, no bass, no party, because the stories that Gary has in this thing not only is inspirational, but I'm going to tell you, you want to be a professional player, you need to understand a lot of these little nuances, because just being good does not mean that you're going to make a career out of your life.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I've always admired. That's why I said to you, it's like, it seems to be that you have a very strong business sense, because all the things I've ever read about Alcatrazz has always been about you and Jimmy. Right. Everybody else is just like, they're the talent, but you're the guys that drive the machine.
Right. We found Steve Vai, Jimmy found Steve Vai.
Well, and that's the thing, after having this such a great impact, and I know Yngwie down in Texas was almost like a folk hero. And that's so strange that here's a kid from Sweden and how did he become a folk hero here? Right. He's like a legend. And I remember one of my girlfriends back in those days went, man, you missed it. I go, what? He goes, Alcatrazz was there. I go, really? And you guys played Cardi's. You remember that club?
Mm-hmm.
Cardi's was like a little circuit right here in Texas and Beaumont. And I think they had one in Austin.
We played there also. We played a lot of places we played already with New England.
Okay.
Alcatrazz. And in Phoenix, Rob Halford came to see us. He was friends with Graham.
Yeah.
And we were doing an Eddie Cochran song called She's Something Else for like a third or fourth encore. Just a doing dee da 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 da.
Yeah.
And Yngwie refused to play. He said, "That's not heavy metal, that sucks." Just play it, shut up. It's just a fun song. End of the night. We did all big smoke and mirrors thing that we do. And he refused to play, and a big fight happened out in the parking lot. Yngwie got in the bus, and with his anvil briefcase took a chunk out of the bus, and the bus driver was going to shoot him with his revolver.
Yeah.
Wouldn't play the song. It's like, it's a rock and roll song. Not him. There's just blinders, but it's got to be this thing. And it's like, man, lighten up. And that was kind of the beginning of the thing deteriorating with that kind of attitude. It's just a fun song. I mean,
well, he was 20, right?
yeah,
So
he's
he was
20,
much younger than the rest of the gang that was in the band.
right? And he hadn't been a lot of places.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. He's been
and
sheltered.
trying to explain to him about American radio and what we had to do. And Island of the Sun. Island of the Sun is actually a New England song.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, we showed to Graham the first day we ever played together.
Yeah.
And Graham liked the music. He thought it sounded like a Motown song. That's what he said. It sounded like Motown. I said, okay. Yeah. And he wrote different lyrics to it about being in Alcatrazz, Island of the Sun.
Yes.
And Graham had the music to General Hospital. He wrote that.
Right.
Our things weren't all written by Yngwie. There's this thing that he wrote all the songs and took it away and started his own band with Schmucks. It's like, no.
Right. Well, we can hear the Yngwie songs because they all still sound like Yngwie.
Yeah, I mean, he played great, but like Yngwie played some of his best solos ever on those records because he was playing a little more melodically than he did on his own stuff. When he got to his own stuff, he a little more berserk on it and a little less restraint from any producer.
Sure,
so
sure.
Chopped it. Yeah. What you're doing is great. Now chop it in half.
Yeah. He definitely when he has no governor, when he's doing his own solo stuff. Yeah. He's just killing, and just driving it.
Same. So we made a great record. It was a great combination of things. We had the melodic thing that New England had. We beefed it up with some more horsepower.
Yeah.
They're always, the heavy freaks of the band. I want to be in the Who. I don't want to be in a folk band or anything like that.
So at the point of this type of, just, I guess, personality clashing, and of course, just working on the road, I'm sure that's a grind too, and for a 20-year-old that has never really done it, I'm sure that he's just like, what the, because look, I'm not going to, finger point anybody, because I've seen it myself in so many different reasons behind why people do certain things. But I do understand that if you guys were matured pros, and then you got a kid who's just great talent, but he's 20.
He's 20. We were playing someplace, and he did some move where he kicked the Heineken bottle over the back of his amplifiers.
Yeah,
looked pretty cool from the audience. That's pretty cool. Yeah. It went backstage and broke on a fork truck of a Teamster loader. And the guy was sitting on the truck, and he was not happy when we got off the stage. He was going to kill him.
Yeah, he's lucky he survived that.
Yeah. And it's like, there's things you don't do.
So when all this finally came to a standstill, and he says, enough is enough, I'm done with this, did you guys just like, oh, great, here we go again? Or was it not just like, okay, well, fine, thank you, and we'll move on? No,
in fact, I'm working right now with a guy in Sweden who's writing the definitive book on Yngwie. It's going to be a big ass book. We're going for the last 2 or 3 years. And I'm going through journals since 1978. And I got every day that we played and where we were and what happened.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And I'm filling him on what did happen and what didn't happen.
Yeah.
What did happen was that Yngwie just would, the manager kept, was feeding him drugs and telling him he's the next best thing since Tarzan and everything.
Yes.
And he got offered a 4-song EP by Polydor in Japan as part of Alcatrazz, just a 4-song little disc to go goofy, play instrumentally. That's cool. We thought it's great. But he became so hard to be around at one point. So we decided we're going to change guitar players.
Okay.
We finally talked the manager into doing that. She didn't want to do. We didn't want to do it, but it had to be done.
Right.
That there was just too much, and Graham was just beside himself with the whole thing. He felt whatever he was the biggest proponent of getting rid of Yngwie.
Really?
So we told Yngwie one day that there was nothing going on a Sunday afternoon. He could stay at his apartment in Woodland Hills and with his girlfriend noodle around on his new air guitar. Meanwhile, we auditioned in Burbank, California that day. All our gear set up on the big Studio A stage. The whole back went Mr. Steve Vai from Frank Zappa's band and Chris Impellitteri, another great guitar player.
Yes.
Both of them one after the other, playing Karina Corey and Jet to Jet, and they wailed on that shit. So,
Right.
We can do this without the aggravation. We're going to do this without the aggravation. So we're going to pick Steve. Steve is quirky, but there's something about his quirkiness that is an original thing. There's an original thread in there. Chris played note for note, and it would just be changing one for the other.
Right.
Copying, not growing, not becoming adventurous. With Steve, anything's possible. He's just doing dog tricks on it, with the song. I got to play that. So,
yes.
You make it more complicated. Always dropping beats and these little Frank Zappa hitches. Come on, make it straight. It's a rock. Yeah. So anyway, we talked to Steve and he's in. So we were about to go on the Ted Nugent tour. We did 30 shows, the Ted Nugent Penetrated tour, the summer of '84.
Yeah.
We ran down to Rockshire Records and told them the good news. We have a new guitar player in the band who's going to just think Yngwie is great. This guy's great too. Trust us. You know what we're talking about.
Right.
Feel it in my heart. This guy is going to be just as famous, just as big. No problem. And we took him off guard. And then they said, well, since the record just came out, can you just do the tour with him? And then when you go for the second record, then make the change for the new guy. And we said, okay, we'll do that. Mm-hmm. So when we took off on the tour with Yngwie, Steve was at his house starting writing songs for the next record.
Yeah.
So when we came off that tour, we were able to switch over to Capitol Records before Rockshire Records went down in flames for embezzlement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we already had half a dozen, 7 or 8 songs already done with Steve.
Yeah.
Before we even went to the studio for the second record. So we were loaded for bear. We didn't miss
so
a
when
beat.
you had Steve sitting at home doing this, was he already on the Alcatrazz payroll?
No, he was just home plunking around writing songs.
Okay, so he's just on good faith of knowing that he's going to be the next
band. Okay. And Chris Frazier, who's now in Foreigner, had their own band, 3-piece band. They were out playing gigs and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes,
they had the Attitude song, and we played the Attitude song with a keyboard part. That was pretty.
That's
cool.
right. Yeah, this is why I want to tell you that one of my moments of music experience that I tell this story to a lot of people. It was with Alcatrazz when you guys came with Steve in Cardi's. Okay. And I remember reading that you said that tour was really a hardship tour. It seems like that there wasn't too much support on it. It was really hard to, get. Yeah. And I remember showing up at Cardi's that night and it was less than half. It was just, not the turnout that I remember Alcatrazz was getting prior tours. But at the same time, all of us who showed up, I would say 85 to 90% were guitar players, all crammed on the Steve side stage.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you kind of saw quite a bit of that.
Yeah. I'm
you guys right? Yeah. So I remember, of course, you guys playing the Attitude song. The first thing that came to my mind when you guys started off with that is like going, just how incredible is this band to be able to do Steve stuff and not even flinch. So, I mean, you earned a new level of respect from everybody in that room just because you guys were able to, kind of do a Steve-fi thing for a little bit, right?
So we had the old songs and new songs, and
yes,
and it was a pretty good combination of things.
That was
and
fantastic.
Steve was wild on stage. He was jumping around and doing somersaults and all kinds of stuff.
He brought out the choral sitar. I remember him doing the sitar bit, and he did the damn good riff as a part of his solo.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, wow, look at this guy. He's really tried to break away from doing what Yngwie was doing with Alcatrazz, right? And then, of course, years later, when I heard Damn Good, I'm like, I've already known this. He did this with Alcatrazz, right? Yeah. So, okay, so here's the moment of the story. Steve's up there doing his guitar solo. And I'm sure maybe you remember it, maybe you don't. He's playing his blue guitar that's made by Performance Guitar down the street in Yucca Street, right?
Yep.
And he starts his solo and he breaks a string. So he gives the audience look like, oh, well, the typical Steve thing. So he gets his second guitar and he puts it on. For whatever reason that night, within probably the next 30 seconds, he breaks a string on that guitar as well. So he looks at the rest of us standing there with this mouth open, like, what the hell is going on? Proceed to drop the bar until the string flops, right? Picks up the guitar and screams into the pickup. Ah! Clicks his hold button on his delay, so it goes into a loop. Now we got this on the N1, right? And then he proceeds to orchestrate a guitar solo over that.
Right.
And we were sitting there just dumbfounded how a disaster moment for a guitar player could be. And he turns it into this incredible moment of music. That story I've told, I don't know how many times. And I remember one of the guys down here, I don't know if you know, there's a kid named Marzi who played with Phil and Samuel, I can't even pronounce his name, the singer from Pantera.
Okay.
Right. So there's, you know, this little clique, like I said, bunch of guitar players. And he remembers it. John Ziegler, who played with Rick Springfield, he remembers it. We were all just dumbfounded how quickly he can think. Now, having being his bandmate, how much of the stuff you see behind the scenes in sense of the just not only talent, but just the creativity that motivates the entire band and goes, hey, let's do this. Because I know God Bless Video is one of my favorite songs. And that song sounds nothing like the first two records.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've got a great God Bless Video story.
Great.
Well, it took place years later, but one of my sons was like in the 4th grade, and I went into his room one night to read him the riot act about doing his homework and turn the radio off. Let's get down to business here. I'm tired. I don't want to hear it. And I realized that one of ours, they're playing God Bless Video. And I said, wow, what radio station's that? And this is in the days of DOS, like in the mid 90s. And he goes, not the radio, Dad, it's the computer. And I said, ugh. So it turns out that we're on the soundtrack to Grand Theft Auto 1.
Yeah.
God Bless Video. And the next day, him and all his little buddies, they used to fix their bicycles and stuff. And I was the guy that fixed all the bikes and the skateboards and the go-bots and the Zoids and zip them all back together again. You all know how it's going. The soundtrack for Grand Theft. I was on the video games. That meant something to them. And
Absolutely.
I said, I got a room downstairs of guitars and gold records. No one in the block's got that. I mean,
but that's a new generation. I mean, you're appealing to a whole new group that would have never would have gone into a record store and did like what we used to do, flip through records and things like that.
Right. And my friend, my son, who's now in his late 30s, sat with his buddies a couple months ago. He told me the story. He said, sat with his buddies, and his buddy goes, your dad plays bass in Alcatrazz? And he goes, yeah. He goes, Jesus. Really? Your dad's in a heavy metal band? Yeah. Yeah, he still is.
Awesome. Yeah. All right.
My son thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, you know, whenever you can say, what does your dad do? My dad works on cars. My dad works in a print shop. My dad plays bass in a metal band. What do you want to pick, right? That is the ultimate coolest dad job. I mean, you know.
My dad was
yeah. That's funny. That's great. And when you hear this type of things, did nobody in licensing kind of contact you guys, or you just start getting checks? Or
well, Steve wrote the song. He got the publishing money on that. He got paid.
He got 100% of that from license.
Yeah,
that's 100 of his.
Yeah, I think Graham. They probably split it because Graham wrote the lyrics.
Yeah, and
it was a takeoff. Graham he didn't like the romantic movement with Duran Duran and ABC and all those bands.
Right.
There was a bunch of pretty boys with guitars, and I thought that was pretty cool. I liked the fact that they were getting dressed up and looking cool. I thought that I championed that. I like those guys, I like Duran Duran. But Graham didn't like it. So he wrote this song that God must have blessed video to allow this to happen. Here's MTV with all these bands, and therefore God bless video. And again, when that song came out, people thought it was a Christian song. They weren't going to play it on the radio. So that record didn't do so wonderfully either.
Right. Oh, interesting.
You just can't have music without conforming to the man. You know, you've got to write this small C thing that's going to be on the radio. You got to sing to. You can't have any abstract lyrics on it. You got to sing "I love you, you love me, isn't it sweet?" You know,
Yeah.
Moon and June, and that's people love songs. Trying to tell Yngwie there's no such thing as a hit record in the top 10 or top 20. It's on a minor key for starters. So take that.
Well, there's a lot of truth in that. Yes.
It's not, you know. Huey Lewis and the News was selling bazillions of records. We were on tour one night somewhere out in Wyoming some night. One night, dark, 2 in the morning. And another tour buses are going the other side of the state going by, and they're on the radio, drivers. And they say, hey, it's Huey Lewis from San Francisco. There's Alcatrazz from LA. Hey, beeping the horns, and everybody yelling. It was in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And they were selling tons and tons of records. So
yeah. With Huey Lewis, well, hell, you know, with that sport record, it just blew up on MTV. And then, of course, you know, Back to the Future, when you couple with, you know, that
hit movie, I
mean, how could it not, right?
Yeah.
So definitely that, but I mean, again, if you talk to the new generation kids today, Huey Lewis and the News, a lot of them wouldn't have a clue.
Right.
But yet, if you talk to them about Alcatrazz, they would know 2 things. Steve Vai came from it. Yngwie came from it.
Right.
You know, that's amazing that how those 2 things have legs.
Right.
Because of those 2 guys, like obviously what they did. But I also, let's just go forward in present time. You guys re-recorded this songs from the first few records and put it on the latest record.
Yeah, just for fun.
And I'll tell you what, I listened to it, and Joe Stump played on it. Is incredible.
Yeah.
In Giles, it's his name, singer.
Yep, Giles is singing.
Giles' vocals is every bit as robust, powerful as any Alcatrazz record. When
Graham was tired or sick or couldn't do the sound check, it was always Giles that sang the sound checks for us.
Really?
He sounds good, you know.
He sounds great. Yeah.
Because he was in management, but he's also a rocker. He's been in bands before. He was managing bands.
Yeah.
And so he fits in really well.
Yeah.
And they're off and running.
and this is where, you know, the album's available. I went to look for it on HD track because I like to buy stuff on 2496. You know, the really high res stuff and open. And you know, the previous of course releases from Alcatrazz are there. Right. And I have that on my computer, but the new one's not. So you have to go to like Amazon and Apple.
Right.
Yeah.
There's another album, All Night Long in Japan. It's got Graham singing on it. That we redid that as well. Mark Banquetry is playing drums and Graham singing it. Doing the first album again. That sounds really good too. Yeah. Those are some tracks we did in Japan a long time ago and just reused them and put it all together. So it's kind of fun because. You know, there's some things you miss when you do things, and you always wish, you know, 10 years later, I wish we could have done this, wish we could have done that.
Yeah, yeah.
Got a chance to, you know, change things around, make it fun. Got to be fun for us first before it's fun for anybody else.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that record's great, and everybody should go check it out. The name of the record, help me out here. The latest release is, what is it called? Something. Both of us are going, duh.
The Previous Convictions.
Previous Conviction. That's right. Okay. Because I have it on my playlist. And everybody who's out there have not gotten this record, you need to go check it out. It's mixed beautifully. And this is why I says this is every bit as powerful, robust as any of previous releases. And because there are songs that we've already been familiar with and heard of, and to hear it in this type of dynamic, this type of mix, was it's a royal treat. I loved it, you know.
Thank you.
And the book again here, No Bass, No Party. Let me go here. Right. You're not doing any kind of book tours or anything like that for this?
See, we got photos for people who can't read.
Yes, there you go. And I love a lot of instance of historical stuff in here.
Yeah, stage passes. All that good stuff. I just this weekend I was notified that my book is now going into hard copy. there's going to be a collector's version for like $50 or something.
Awesome. Is it
So
going to
that's
be autographed, or do we have to like send
yeah,
it
I've
to
got
you?
no way of doing that, unless you come to town and I'll meet you at the donut shop.
There you go. Well, are you going to jump back on tour soon?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just a lot of things going on. It's been hard to take that much time. Like they're out for 20 shows in 20 days, next 20 days.
Yeah,
That's tough. And I got things going on here that need to be taken care of.
sure.
So
Sure. Fully
it's
understand.
I'm not, 29 years old. Hey, let's go to LA tomorrow. Sure, let's go right now. Jump in a car. Let's go to LA. I'm up
Yeah.
for that. Because I was
Yeah.
always the guy. I was always on the edge of the surfboard. Oh, drive, let's go.
Yeah.
And we did all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You seem to be very savvy about taking opportunities and get the most out of it. And that
yeah,
to me is, I think, a huge contribution to where you are today in your career.
yeah,
And I wanted to just want to, take that time out and say, hey, I want to thank you and appreciate what you've done for all of us in rock, because of, in sense of the kind of band that you put together was something that we thought wasn't going to be more than just that one trick pony, but you didn't let it happen that way, and Jimmy didn't let it happen that way,
right.
and I think that's great. And Danny Johnson, I was a very much aware of Danny Johnson as well.
Mhm.
And I thought it was, nice progression, although I'm sure every one of us would rather have Steve keep going, a little bit more.
It was different for the times in the late 80s and stuff. We had a lot of pressure, and Capitol Records wanted to give us some songs from other writers, and Graham didn't want to do that, and they threw us off Capitol Records. Thank you.
Well, Graham couldn't see it just for the sake of the paycheck.
He thought he'd make more money if he had writer's credit, but if you don't have a good song, who cares? You got 100% of nothing's nothing.
Right. Right.
Where the people in Heart, who we were on Capitol with, had just they're on the third turn around the world on that record at that time.
Yeah.
Don Grierson and those guys said we hook you up with Brian Adams and a bunch of other people. Aerosmith did it. It's not hateful.
Yeah.
People, if you like the music, you like the music. It doesn't really matter who really wrote it.
Yeah.
To some extent to the band's DNA. But I mean, like Jefferson Starship, Jim, we built this city on rock and roll. Some people hate them for that. But guess what? They're on the radio, and that pays their bills and lets them do another 10 records of music you might like.
Right.
So is that, it's a connection down the road.
Yeah.
And I want to thank my publisher, my book publisher, Books We Love Music in Alberta, Canada. I got contacted last year. They said, would you like to write a book about the music business? I said, who? I said, could I do that? And I thought I could never fill a book with enough information to do that. Yeah. But I started writing, and my book came out, and it's been really, really a cool thing. It's a whole different thing of what I've been doing as far as playing music goes.
Right.
My book, still #1 in the publisher's list since April. Their best-selling book so far. And I had a lot of fun putting the story down and squashing some of those internet rumors, like Clive Burr, Yngwie's thing. Yngwie did it, quit the band. It's like the last 2 shows we did when Steve played before we did the album. Yngwie still didn't know that we had already done that, so it took him by surprise. And now they're best friends. I mean, and Steve has helped Yngwie out big time with the G3 tours. He and Joe Satriani have taken Yngwie with him and helped his career by getting him into the arenas and boosting him back up again. So it's funny how it all comes around. They're all good friends. We're all still good friends.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
And that's the important part. You can have yelling matches and stuff, but it's
that's how bands work. That's how family works. Yeah. You're right. 100%. And that's where it's so good to read some of these things in here, and as well as talk to you about it, because it opens up definitely a much bigger paradigm in regards to how much professionalism requires to sustain a career, how much forethought and planning and strategy that goes into building a music career.
I didn't want to write like I'm John was some amazing bass player, but I wanted to write a story about how's a regular guy go into a department store and buy a cheesy guitar and wind up doing the arena shuffle. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Number one is always practice.
Yeah. Well,
But I mean,
can't say
even
enough
still-
about that. Yeah.
Even still, you can practice and be the best guitar player around and still not get nervous and still not get the right situation to propel your career into doing that.
Yeah.
It's happened to thousands and thousands of musicians, man.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky and fortunate that this has happened to me, and I thought it'd be interesting to write the story down for myself, for my kids and stuff. And I'm glad the way it came out. Thanks for helping me get the word out on that.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Gary, I mean, I can't thank you enough for joining us today in sharing your story and your adventure. Because for us fans who grew up really embracing Alcatrazz, this is an incredible band, not because of how you dressed, not because of how much you were hyped, but how well you guys gave us, the music. And that to me is different than I think a lot of bands that came out of the early 80s.
Yeah, it was doing a band to get drunk and have fun and do parties. We did things to do music and make a mark.
Yeah.
I wanted maybe I'll never be in Cream with Eric Clapton, but I want to have that kind of quality of something in my life that could be in a parallel to some of that great music I've heard over the years myself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think you did that. Yeah.
And the whole thing about persistence. My book's about persistence and staying with it and not doubting yourself and dust yourself off and keep going. And that's the main gist of the whole thing.
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, that's why I think I resonated so much with your book as well, because I did my stint in Los Angeles and just beat that freaking strip to death, right? And what's funny is that the bachelor apartment on Woodman, 3301, I believe I lived there.
There you go.
I'm telling you, there's just so many little parallel things you kind of look at and goes, hey, wait a minute, I recognize this. Hey, wait a minute, I know that.
Yeah.
All those things. Gary, thank you again so much for joining us in the 13th Note Art of Mastery. You are truly master of your craft. And I hope all the folks out there who's into being a professional musician and wanting to be in the music business, take something away, take a nugget. I mean, it's hard work. It is part luck. It is parts timing. But the bottom line is it's about being a good human being in how you get along with others, how you network.
Right. And there's no pro from rock and roll. There's no bass, no party.
There you go. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate you. And this will stream on redpills.tv's on Sunday. Everybody who's on the live stream, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And I want you to make sure you like and subscribe the channel and leave us a comment, say hi. Don't forget, this book, No Bass, No Party from Gary, is on Amazon. Get a copy of it. You'll love it. You'll love this.
Barnes and Noble.
Everywhere. And then, of course, the new record, get that. That is, I think, if you're an old diehard Alcatrazz fan, you'd be really impressed in regards to how re-recording this gave it new life and new heaviness to it.
Previous Convictions on Brave World Records.
There you go. Thank you, Gary. If you want to hang tight, let me just sign off, and everybody, we'll see you next time on the 13th Note Art of Mastery.